I'm a bush girl, and what I notice in the bush is the depth, layer upon layer of uniquely Australian vegetation. During the Bioblitz on the Fraser Island, another layer was suddenly visible. The scientists and the volunteers, they were still in the bush. They were sort of walking around quietly or sitting quietly, just allowing the wildlife to resume their activities. And that was my inspiration for this series of work that I'm doing. I took an image of John Sinclair, who was the team leader of the Bioblitz over there, and I've aimed at layering him into the vegetation in this artwork that I'm working with. The technique I'm using is called negative painting, and basically you start with a soft underpainting. I then draw in a rough graphite sketch, and then I do layer upon layer of glazing with just the different leaves, the patterns of the leaf, that kind of thing, until I can end up with probably about 6 layers at times. My aim with the face is to have it almost invisible, so the viewer has to look twice to actually see it. I want to have him layered into the bush so that he's actually part of the process. I have my own studio and workshop where I teach and where I do all my artwork. Yeah, that's where I kind of make my living.
My name is Valerie McIntosh, and I guess I could describe myself as an eclectic artist. One of my responses to Gary was to create a set of brushes handmade from natural and found materials. Some of the man-made threads I'm using were purchased, but the majority were found in charity shops. I use various fastening methods, such as stitching, gluing, tying, braiding and knotting. The colours selected, the soft greens, browns and pinks, which can be seen in the colour photographs taken in the Wallam, were the colours I decided to use for the brushes. Some of the brushes are merely decorative, but others are functional, so that I can use them for mark making in some of my drawings, for example, in the background of the Brumbies. Here are some marks that are very typical of the marks that are made by handmade brushes. So what I'd expect to do is, in the final version of this drawing of the Brumbies, I would use some of my brushes to give the effects of the undergrowth.
Hi, I'm Jo Williams. I work in many different mediums. I like to experiment with acrylic paint, collage, print, all sorts of stuff. But what drives me is the content. What am I trying to say? My first experience of the front beach of Fraser Island was weird. I took photos of the four-wheel drive tracks. I could not articulate how I felt. I had experienced the deadness. My sorrow that the only sighting of a dingo was on an oven mitt, an ashtray, a shot glass, a stubby cooler, and the piece de resistance, a snow dome. Later, I collected research from the local papers of the death of dingoes on Fraser Island, found with bullet wounds, run over, poisoned. I wanted to translate this loss. I put the images of the dead dingoes on an acetate and superimposed them over the four-wheel drive tracks. I will exhibit these works juxtaposed with their souvenirs, with a postcard from each dingo stating how they died.
My name's David Probin. I'm a traditional realist artist who experiments but never stops learning my craft. Mediums that I use are pastel, oils and any drawing medium. I sometimes venture into impressionism and abstract. The painting I'm showing you today, which is rendered in pastel and was a scene I found on a track from Dilly Village to the beach. Every painting should have a proper leading into the background, and especially to the focal point, which is the sharpest part and the most colourful, and the contrast between dark and light is at its strongest. And every painting should have a foreground, midground and background, and should also have a lead into the background to rest the eye, and having the brightest part in the middle here and subdued sides of the painting itself. It keeps the viewer's eye in the painting and not leading out of the painting. Every painting should have an armature, just like a sculpture, and that holds the painting together. In this one here, we've got two lines converging up here to the focal point, and that's the whole structure. It's like a pyramidal shape to the focal point.
My name is Gina Davey and I'm primarily an oil and charcoal artist. Several years ago, I saw a group of artists on a documentary who went out into the landscape and documented what they saw. I've always wanted to do the same. The Bioblitz not only gave us that opportunity, but it also gave us the bonus of sharing it with professionals in the scientific field. We were able to observe the environment, not only through an artist's eye, but through the eyes of dedicated and passionate scientists and environmentalists. Each evening we witnessed the data recording and cataloguing of the flora and fauna seen throughout the day, and we were able to use those as inspiration for our art. I primarily work in charcoal and oil, and although I have spent many years painting wildlife, I mainly concentrate on portraiture now. I generally start with a detailed drawing in charcoal and progress through that to working up the final portrait in oil. In this piece, I wanted to capture Dr. Scott Burnett as a free spirit, but his intense gaze shows how passionate he is about the biodiversity and ecology of threatened species. He was obtaining data about microbats on the island, but has a special interest in quolls and their habitat. My intention was to paint his general persona in a loose and relaxed manner, while keeping the intensity and strength of character he has in his eyes.
congratulations to our RATs, the Regional Artists and Tutors group, who have brought this wonderful program to our community in collaboration with the University of the Sunshine Coast and scientists from across Australia. The Fraser Coast Regional Council and the Regional Arts Development Fund were delighted to be able to support this really innovative program, which has given the opportunity to provide greater insights into life on Fraser Island and to document that in a marvellously innovative, artistic way. Well done to everybody, and our thanks from the community.